hopefully all chaos doesn't break loose up there.
Yeah.
I feel like they're capable.
Yeah, but they're also men, so I feel like they're going to be loud. All right, guys, welcome back. I think this is episode 13. I have my lovely, beautiful, the one and only Kaylin, my best friend. She is here as a guest today, and we're just going to talk and be girlfriends together. So, yeah, we're just going to talk. Do you want to, introduce yourself?
Sure. I don't even know how to introduce myself anymore. I'm a mom, so that takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
Gosh, what else is there?
So you were born in California, right?
Yes.
When did you move to Colorado? You were
when I was 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So Colorado's very much home.
Yeah.
I always like to say California is really nice to visit.
Yeah.
I would never live there.
Yeah. Unless you're in the military and you can afford to live on base in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not live there either.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you questions. So I do want this to be like girlfriends talking, but also I did want to ask you because I don't think that I've ever really asked you specifics on your childhood.
Yeah.
Or even how you and Mitchell met.
And
that's
a good story.
How your relationship started. Because I just learned today that you guys had broken up.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. That's crazy to me.
I'm sitting here the last 2.5 years thinking you guys are some perfect love story. You met, your eyes locked, and you guys were we're getting married. That's really the picture I had.
Yeah.
But because you guys kind of are fairy tale-esque to me. In your marriage. I do look up to your guys' marriage a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So we met at church. Mitchell and his twin brother moved up to Denver for school, and they were kind of church shopping. And they ended up at the church that I kind of grew up at. My dad was in charge of all the AV stuff, and that's kind of Mitchell's interest point. And specifically something that he prayed about, Lord, if you want me at this church, he wanted to be able to serve in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the weekend that they came and visited, they announced that they needed help on the AV team. So they stuck around. Mitchell met my dad first. Also a pro tip, be friends with your future spouse's dad first, and then everything will just
so
go
are
from
Mitchell
there.
And your dad close now?
Yeah. Mitchell's kind of close with my whole family, I would say, which is a lot of fun. I think because Mitchell and his brother were young college students.
Right.
My now sister-in-law, but Isaac's girlfriend at the time also started coming to the church. And so it was I was on the younger end, but they were the young adults. We were the only young adults. It was a super small church.
Okay.
So I kind of got I think the term is grandfathered into the group.
Okay.
Here, fresh out of high school, here, you can make friends with these young adults. So they all started coming and just kind of started hanging out with them. And anyway, though, so my parents kind of all just oh, here's these young people, let's take them in, church parents, and so we just spent a lot of time with them. And my mom is the main administrator at that church, and there was a morning that we were getting ready to leave for church or something, and she was upstairs straightening her hair. She made a habit of praying for her children's future spouses. And so she was just praying for my future spouse with no names in mind, and Mitchell came to mind. And so she came downstairs and was I know who you should like. And anyway, I was what? And she was Mitchell. And I was he's a grown man. Because here's the deal.
So how much older is Mitchell than you?
I think we're 4 or 5 years apart.
Okay. And at this point you were 18?
I was 17. So I wasn't even like a legal adult yet.
So your mom was just like, I don't care about the age. This is your man.
Yeah. I think Mitchell was 22, 21, 22. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math on that right now. But I think 22. And yeah, so like understandably, I was like, he's grown.
Yeah.
And he felt a similar way. Like we've talked about it since. And he's like, yeah, I used to see you around and be like, whose kid is that? Like, but then
oh my gosh,
it kind of started to like change. And gosh, we have like so many just like kind of funny stories. And it like, I think because my whole family was really like, my parents are still really involved at that church. But like, I mean, I was helping in kids ministry. I was part of the welcome team. Like, I just kind of helped where help was needed. I don't know how much I'm going to jump around with this, but Mitchell, there was a day, like at the point that he like kind of started to like notice me, my mom watched this happen. She was standing at the welcome table and I like walked past, he was talking to somebody else and I walked past him to go back to the kids area. So I was serving that morning and my mom just watched him like watch me.
No.
Yeah.
Like head turned.
Yeah. He was like talking to this guy and just was like, yeah.
What was this after your mom was like, you should like Mitchell?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. It must have been because I think that was pretty like early on. And like we didn't really start to like hang out and notice each other until like a little bit.
Yeah.
After that. Anyway, I was still very like underage. And so we talk about it and we're like, oh, that's kind of maybe like considered creepy. I don't know. But yeah, just kept like hanging out with that group. Mitchell was very like formal when we initially met. So there was a lot of like he would shake my hand like when he greeted me. It was
really?
like, Kaylin, how are you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I guess I'll kind of like fast forward to when we didn't even like start dating right away. It was like, I want to pray about getting to know you better. And then like, yeah.
Oh.
But that also is just like, it was super funny. Again, small church, like I grew up there. It was like, gosh, I think I started going there when I was like 12. And the youth group was really small. It was like me, my brothers, and then the pastor's kids. So like we were all close. But that was like, we were the only like young adults.
Yeah.
And so there was a morning that Mitchell like was going to approach me. I was walking out of the sanctuary and he was walking in. And he kind of like paused for a half second, like he was going to stop and talk to me. And so I also kind of paused, but then he kept walking.
Oh my gosh.
He like paused and then kept
walking. He got
walking.
nervous?
Mm-hmm. And so then he like turned around after we had passed each other because I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was going to talk to me, but I guess not. He turned around. He's like, actually, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah. And at that point, I was kind of
did you have a little crush at that point?
A little.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was, yeah, I would say yes. And that's when he was like, yeah, like, I want to pray about like getting to know you better. And like I can remember the first time we like sat down to talk and he was like, oh, how's your family? How's this going? And then it was like done with the pleasantries. And he was like, so what's your view about grace? Or like, what do you think grace is? And I was like, just like so taken aback by the fact that
you're like not prepared for something like
let's talk about theological things like immediately. Yeah. Anyway, so we had really good conversations, but it was like, yeah, it was just really funny.
Did he ever tell you like why he asked you like theological questions? Was it because he was trying to see if like you would be like a godly wife or like have the same views?
It was kind of, so there were things that he was praying about with like a future spouse or somebody to date. Cause so he never dated in high school. which I think is like it's like so sweet to me now because I'm like, I was the girl that like caught your attention.
So interesting hearing like how a relationship started from like people who like it started it like with a biblical view.
Mm-hmm.
Because like all of my relationships, even with Carlos, like they all started very much out of lust.
Yeah.
Like when Carlos and I met, it was not, hey, I think God wants me to be with you. It was like, hey, I think you're
like
hot.
You. Yeah.
I like you. And then it wasn't until later that we found God. Thank God. But
well, and I think that's like so beautiful though. Like just the testimony of like what God's done, like not only in you guys like individually, but like as a couple. And I think that's the case as well for people who like started with like that foundation. But like, I don't know, just like what a beautiful testimony that is.
It's I don't know. You see it. I don't know. I've never looked at it as beautiful because I've always felt some sort of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
After like learning how relationships should start and like what the foundation of a relationship should be.
Yeah.
So Carlos and I have both struggled with that a lot.
Yeah.
And like even like seeing is our marriage legitimate? Because we had both slept with other people, obviously. I was married before. And so we were like, is this legitimate? It's just been hard. But anyway.
No, I'll just touch on that like a moment more. But like, I mean, it's the same thing, like kind of like I said, like as individuals, like, you know, we're all born into sin. And like some of us find it sooner and some of us find it later. And I mean, the truth of the matter is that like we all fall short and like we all need the salvation and like saving blood of Christ. And so I think the same is true for like our relationships and our marriage. And I feel like that's worded kind of funny, but you know, just like look how far he's brought you. It's the same thing with like, I think I kind of struggled with that growing up, just in the sense of like people would come into our church and like share their testimonies. And it was like this crazy, like radical story. And, you know, it's like, wow, like I wish I had a testimony like that. But then those people were always like,
they're like, no, I wish I had yours. Like, I wish that I was better. I wish that I had like, I always am thinking about that. Like, I wish I had grown up in the church. I wish I knew right from wrong at an early age. I wish I knew God at an earlier age. And it's hard. It's like I want that. And like Carlos talks about like, yeah, we went to like winter camp at church and we did all these things and like missions trips. And I'm like, I wish I could have experienced all of that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's never too late to experience those things. I think that, you know, God's got different timelines for all of us. And, you know, he's seen it all. Like he's not on the same like timeline that we are. And so like he knows the beginning, he knows the end. And like, you know, he's allowed certain things, and we do live in a fallen world and we have fallen natures. And that's why we need the redemption of Christ. And I think there is a certain aspect of like, yeah, I am a sinner and like my past shows that, but like, you know, you are actively and faithfully like walking towards, you know, closeness with him and towards sanctification. And I don't know, I still think that that's beautiful and like
made me feel good.
Yeah.
But we can get back to like how you.
Yes.
Sorry, I like got that way off topic. So we can get back to like where were we? You and Mitchell. He started talking about theological stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So specifically with him not dating anybody growing up. And like, he was very like prayerful about like how to go about it. Like he had done coffee with a few people, like a handful of times, just because like, I think his parents were like, hey guy, like
It's time to start looking around.
Yeah. Like just give it a chance. And so like he went out to coffee a handful of times. And the way he's put it is he felt like he always had to kind of like pry about people's faith. And like his prayer was just that like the faith would be like evident in somebody. And so I think that's kind of like the approach he was taking was like, so tell me your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, I mean, it was great. It was kind of like challenging because not challenging, but like, I guess it caught me off guard a little bit. And not that like, I don't know. Yeah. It was a good opportunity. Like, gosh, well, what do I believe? I need to like put words to that a little bit better or like, you know, be able to like verbalize that.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I loved all of our conversations. I was never somebody that like liked praying like out loud, but we would always like end with like open-ended prayer. And like, he'd specifically be like, do you want to pray for like closing out of our evening? He didn't word it like that, but maybe he did.
Still so formal.
Yeah. So we like got coffee a handful of times and just like had those types of conversations. And then he like officially asked me out, which was fun. And then we dated from November of 2018 to like April of 2019, I think.
Okay.
And broke up. And that specifically was just like, he had some like family stuff that had like come up from his past that he was just like, oh, I didn't realize like that he just like had some like trauma that he hadn't really worked through. And so like anxiety started like being an issue for him. And like he was having panic attacks and he wasn't sleeping. And so like because he wasn't sleeping, he wasn't communicating great. And he ended up just one night being like, I think we should break up. And I was like, what? And that was hard because like we had both like prayed about it and we were like, okay, like felt like the Lord was just kind of like, yep. And so I was just like totally caught off guard. I was like, God, what just happened? I thought you said this. And I really had to like work through that because it was like, it was like, was I just like convincing myself that like, yeah, this is from the Lord?
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think everything has to be like that. That was just kind of approached it. And I felt like the Lord did give like a clear answer on, but I like, you know, we have free will as well. Anyway, so I like really had to like surrender that and like, you know, trust him. And when we were like talking and I was like, well, do you think this is like permanent? Do you just need a break? And he was like, I think it's permanent. And I was like, okay. And again, I think he just like, he wasn't sleeping. And like, we've talked about it. Like, he doesn't even like remember certain aspects of it. Like it was, he was just like deep in a lot of like anxiety and like sleepless nights and stuff. So yeah. So we broke up and like I said, I kind of had to like work through that. And I was just like praying one day and I like really felt the Lord speak to my heart, like, go to the place that you meet for coffee and just pray for him. And in my own like understanding, I was like, this is going to be great. Like, you're right, Lord. Like, I'm going to go pray for him and he's going to show up and things like we're going to reconnect and it's going to be like great. It's going to be perfect. And that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Which was a real like faith builder, just like And yeah, it was a really sweet time because like I didn't know at that time he was struggling. Like he hadn't really like shared anything. I kind of like knew that, you know, he had a more difficult like past. But I didn't know details, and I didn't know that like all of that was resurfacing. And so I like went and prayed for him, and like looking back, it's like, oh yeah, he was like going through all this stuff, and it was really sweet to like be able to like just pray for him, and not even pray like, Lord, bring him back to me, but like just praying for him, praying for his life, praying for, you know, work and, you know, family and all the things. And I'll backtrack a little bit. It was like 3 specific times that God was like, go do this. And again, because it was like fresh out of the relationship, I was like, am I just like crazy? Yeah. Like I keep like putting these thoughts into my own head, and like, I don't need to go do that. But then like it happened again. And I was like, that's a little much. And like he kept just like nudging and nudging and nudging. And I was like, fine, I'll go. And so, I just like made a habit of like, we would meet on Monday nights when we had our like dates at the coffee shop. Okay. And so I was like going on Monday nights and just like praying for him in the parking lot. Yeah. And so we were separated so it was November to April, and then we broke up, and then it was April to I think December, and then we started dating again.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, and it was, so there was kind of a lot that went into that. So,
were you guys talking between that time?
Kind of. Yeah. Yes. So initially it was kind of like awkward, and we like didn't really interact because like I wasn't sure if he wanted to talk to me. I wasn't sure if like, so it was understandably awkward for a little bit. And again, it was a small church, so it wasn't like we could avoid each other, but it was like, I'll sit in the back and you sit in the front, and vice versa the next week.
Yeah.
But I think like slowly things kind of started to become like normal again. But again, like he was going through like he was like working through all of his past trauma and stuff. And so he had like a mentor and friend that he would like talk to about those things and like, you know, just get biblical counsel on. And then he ended up, I think it was shortly after we broke up, he was getting ready to be in a friend's wedding, and they were playing Frisbee golf. And they just doing boy stuff. Yeah. They dropped a disc into like a deep, like, I don't know if you would call it like a ravine. I'm like slacking on the word.
Like a ditch?
But it was a ditch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ravine is like really large, right?
That's like a lake, I think.
Not a ravine. And being men, they were like, we'll just, I mean, it was like 6 or 7 feet deep. And so they just like, his friend held onto a branch who was holding onto him, and he was like stretched, like they were just like stretched out, like holding onto each other, kind of like those like monkey tree things, you know? And he like grabbed the disc. I think the tree branch broke, or like he fell, or like something happened where they fell, and Mitchell fell back, hit his head on a rock, and then as he was trying to like sit up, his friend fell on top of him. So he got a traumatic brain injury, and he forgot that it happened.
What?
Because of the brain injury.
Wait, he forgot that he fell?
Yes. It was like a short-term memory thing. So he like, he fell, hit his head. They like got up, and he was like, oh, that kind of hurts, but like finish the game. So they finished their game. And then he like forgot that it happened. And so like every once in a while he'd be like, dang, my head really hurts. And he'd like remember that it happened. He's like, maybe I should go see a doctor. And then he'd forget. And I can't tell you, it lasted a few months before he like actually got help for it.
Really?
Mhm. And so then like that happened and like he had to drop out of school and was just basically like, he had to take it like super easy to like recover from it. He didn't used to wear glasses. They're like
He's wearing that
retainers
because of
for his eyes because they like knocked him out of place.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy to hear him talk about because like everything was kind of like shifted and he like couldn't, like everything was just like off.
Wow.
So because of that too, he was like, well, like I want to like recover from my brain injury a little bit more. But at the point that we kind of started talking again, it was like we met a handful of times just to be like revisit, like, is this something that we like want to revisit? Is it something like, do you want to just like move on from? Do you feel like the Lord's leading you in a different direction? Because again, like at that point, after we had those conversations, I had a better idea of like why we broke up and like what was happening. We had met a handful of times and it was kind of like, yeah, like let's keep praying about it. And then we actually had, it was a friend in our group that approached me one day and was like, I need to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she was like, Mitchell told me that he liked me. And I was like,
what?
So I texted him and I was like, we need to talk. And I like went over to his house and I was like, listen, if you don't want to date me, that's fine. Don't string me along. And there was like more conversation than that, but I was pretty much like, don't play with my feelings.
Yeah. So was this girl your friend?
Yeah, I mean it was like a large friend group that like
Kudos to her for like going to you and telling you though.
Well, but so Mitchell was like, I don't like that didn't happen.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So that was just wild. And I was like, okay.
So you think this friend liked Mitchell and was trying to like get you to back off?
There were a few friends that, yeah. But yeah, I think everything more or less got like smoothed over after the fact. There were conversations had and like everybody was able to like move forward. But it was wild for a second there. Yeah. And I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah. I think Mitchell was like,
I know. Yeah. Mitchell was also
literally have a brain injury, dude. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that was legit what went down. He was like hot commodity in high school too. And so like again, to be like, wow, he picked me out of like all the girls that were willing to give him attention.
Yeah.
Really sweet. But yeah, so that was like, what? So I like went to his house and we joke like I went over and like yelled at him. But yeah, it was a very civil conversation. I was just like, listen, don't play with my feelings. Yeah. Like if you don't want to like date me, if you don't think there's like something here, like don't worry about it, but don't string me along.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had that conversation and at the end of that conversation, it was kind of like, okay, like he had like a certain healing timeline for his brain injury when he like was reaching certain milestones. So it was like, okay, it's October, December, like let's revisit. And just like talk. Like we'll come to a decision in December, like whether or not we want to like date again or not. And so December rolled around and he asked me out again. And it was smooth sailing from there.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys got married like a year later, basically. Like a year and a half later? Or was it 2 years? Almost 2 years later.
So
December 19.
Just about a year.
Because you got
a little under a year. We got married. Because it was December of 2019.
You got married 2020?
2020. Yeah, September.
Wow, so just under a year.
We also, we got engaged in July July of 2020, and then married in September. So like 2 months. Yeah. It was just kind of, I mean, for us, it was like, yep, this is it. We know. Like,
I mean, Carlos and I got married so fast. Yeah. So like a month.
If you can plan a wedding, I mean, I know you guys didn't have like a full-on wedding, which was also like stress-free. So heck yeah.
But part of me really wishes I had like the pictures and
yeah, that's understandable.
Like my family there.
Yeah.
And like something that was like a day to celebrate us.
Yeah. You should renew your vows.
Maybe.
And then you can wear a dress and like do the whole thing.
Yeah, I got married in jeans. We really got married at the courthouse, and then the next day had like a ceremony.
Yeah.
In his parents' driveway.
Nice. They've got a beautiful house.
They do. So. Yeah. But did you and Mitchell, did you guys wait to have sex until you were married?
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking, how awkward was it? Was it awkward or was it just like natural?
I think it was natural.
You're like, I still don't know.
My mother-in-law and my mom don't watch this podcast.
Well, I mean, because you obviously hadn't dated anybody.
Yeah.
Did you guys like, while you were dating, did you guys like even kiss?
We did kiss.
You did kiss?
Mm-hmm. I think we did like premarital. And so like the very last like session we did for premarital was kind of like a appropriate version of like the rundown on sex stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Which is like helpful.
Yeah.
Because I've never done that before. So
man, I wish I would have waited until the marriage, but whatever, I guess. I can't change it.
Hopefully it's good now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I just like, I think like when I was growing up, I had real self-esteem issues. Mm-hmm. My dad was really just not a good guy. My stepdad had super bad like self-esteem issues, was super self-conscious. And so like any little bit of attention a boy gave me, I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I wish I wouldn't have.
I know, the things you wish you could go back and tell yourself.
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of young girls can relate to that. Like I think we all can kind of struggle specifically with like self-esteem issues. And so, yeah, like a boy gives you attention and you're like, yeah.
And especially at an age like as a teenager when like hormones are new, they're going crazy. And it's like, you know, we all know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, whatever. I was going to ask you something else and I forgot. My foot itches. I'm not scratching my crotch, guys. Okay. All right.
we could like backtrack. What about us meeting? First impressions.
Oh, me and you?
Yeah. Yes.
So Kaylin and I met, our husbands worked together. And like Carlos and Mitchell, they were not like friends. They were just like coworkers at this point because Carlos had just started working for Summit. And so Carlos was like, hey, we have to go to this like gala. And like, it's really fancy. It's at the Broadmoor. We have to go and you have to dress up really nice. And, I was like, I do not want to go. When he told me about that, I was like, I don't want to go.
It's not for me.
I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody you work with. I am white trash, honestly. Like, I do not belong at the Broadmoor.
I can relate to that. Yeah. What do I do with these forks?
I grew up eating out of old butter tubs, all right?
Why are there so many utensils?
Yes. Oh my gosh, we'll get to that. But so Carlos was like, okay, like he like walked me into the Broadmoor. We're all dressed up, super fancy. He walks me in and he goes, oh my gosh, that's Kirk Cameron. And I was like, what? He's like, that's Kirk Cameron. I was like, where? And he was like, over there. And so I was like, Okay.
Do you remember what we talked to him about?
Our moms?
Our moms. My mom's a huge fan of you.
Literally, like, oh my gosh, my mom told me so much about you.
And also Thanksgiving food. We talked about Thanksgiving foods with him.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about mashed potatoes or something. Oh,
just some sides or something.
Because there was roast beef on the menu. We started talking to Kirk Cameron, you guys, about food. Out of all the things we could have asked this man
about it.
Out of all the things we could have asked this man, we were talking to him about mashed potatoes and gravy.
It might have been for him. Like, dang. Yeah.
But anyway, so we walk in and Carlos like starts to have a conversation and Kaylin and I are kind of both there. And I look at Kaylin and she is dressed exactly like me. Hair up in a bun, in an updo, same exact dress, same shoes. We are literally dressed the exact same. And I looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, we're matching or something like that. And then we just started like talking about it. And Kaylin was like, yeah, I got this at the thrift store. And I was like, oh, I wish I got mine at the thrift store. Dang, I spent a fortune on my dress.
Which like, so like usually as a girl, like I know it's a whole thing to be like, ew, we're matching. Like somebody needs to change. Like, you know how that's a thing?
I was sitting
so
there
relieved.
thinking, me too. I was like, thank God I got this right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
well,
thank God I'm
like,
not like.
Yeah. Everybody was in these like long gowns and we're like little
everyone
black
was
dress.
going to prom. I was like, oh my gosh, there were people wearing fur coats. And I know it was authentic fur, all right? I know it wasn't faux. And yeah, I just like felt relieved when I saw we were dressed the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, she knows, she has good taste. Like, that's like that's my girl right there.
Yeah.
And so we started talking. Do you even remember what like we first started talking about? I think the first thing we started talking about was our dress and then how our moms liked Kirk Cameron.
Yep. The things you connect over. Yeah. Well, and then, gosh, yeah, I don't remember a ton of the details.
We started talking about our kids.
Mm-hmm. We walked out to go get drinks and you were like, oh, do you want like a cranberry juice? And I was like, sure. Well, because you were like, oh yeah, like let's go get drinks. And I was 10 weeks pregnant at that point.
And you told me.
And I told you. You were like, I mean, I won't say like one of the first. Like there were a select few that knew, but like there were a lot of people that didn't know. And I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like internally panicking because I was like, drinks. Can't do drinks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were like in line and I was like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, just talking about kids. Our kids are 10 days apart. Lincoln and Phoebe.
10 days.
Which is super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was plenty to talk about with that. Having 1-year-olds is a good time.
Yeah. I remember, like, I was so relieved that there weren't assigned seatings and that you and I could sit together. Yeah. And Kaylin and I, we just sat together the whole entire night. And we were both like, what is even happening? Like, they gave us our food and we were both like, wow, that's not a lot of food. Do you remember how small it was? It was so tiny.
Fancy people food.
Yeah. Whatever. But then they like gave us these like sheets. They like passed everybody these like sheets.
Donor sheets.
Like donation sheets.
Donor.
And I was like looking at it and it said like it gave you an option of how much to give, like 1,000, 10,000 or 100,000, something crazy like that. And I looked at it and I looked at Kaylin and I just like slid it away from me. I was like, that is not for me.
It's not mine. I can give you $5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, it was like so fun because we totally just like hit it off.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know.
It was such a blessing because up until that point, like I had no friends at all. I had severe depression. I was crying every single day to Carlos, blowing up on him. Just like, I hate this place. I hate it here. I want to go home. I miss my family. I feel so alone. And then I made a friend, and I remember going home that night and being like, I really like Kaylin. I really like her.
Yeah. There was no like weird first impression. It was just like, yeah, she's cool. I like her.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah. And then I remember like hanging out for the first time, and that was like, oh my gosh, we're like the same person. Like just in like, not
except
actually,
like you're like everything that God knew that I needed in a friend. Like not just someone to relate to, but someone who was farther along in their faith than me, because I really needed that. I really needed somebody to look up to and someone to ask questions to and someone to like tell me like how to handle situations or to look at things from a godly perspective. And like when I'm like, I hate everyone.
I have my moments like that too. If that makes you feel better.
We all do. But but it's just like I tell Carlos all the time, like that, like I'm so glad that I got a friend that like has all the qualities that I need in a friend. Because I never like all my friends growing up, it was just like bad influences.
Right. Yeah. Just
like I've never had a good influential friend. You're my first good influential friend. But it's great to have somebody to like talk about like how to raise our children.
Oh my gosh.
In like a biblical way, and like how to be a biblical wife, and like like know that I'm not alone. In all of this and how I'm feeling.
And that's just like, it's so important because like I am the last person to be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing and I am great at this. Everybody come to me for advice. But like doing life with somebody, and like, I know that phrase is kind of, maybe Carlos can cut that out. It's kind of cheesy. Going through life with someone or several people that are in the same season as you, and I mean, even not the same season as you, like it's all important. Like you need people that are further along, that have lived more life than you. And it's like also so important to have people that are in the same stage as you. And like, I mean, we've had so many conversations about like, man, you make me feel so much less crazy. Like I'm not a psychopath. I just have 2 toddlers. And I think building that community is like so important and like worth the time it takes. Like, I don't know. I'm really passionate about that. It matters.
It does. For sure. Yeah. I'm so glad I went that night. Or else we would probably not be friends.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Like, that was like the night. Otherwise, it may have just been like, oh yeah, see you in passing.
I don't know when I would have ever seen you.
I know. Yeah.
Other than that. Because it's like after that, like Kaylin and I were hanging out like once or twice a week.
Oh my gosh. All the time.
We were like, let's go bring lunch to our husbands at work.
It was so fun. I loved doing that. Like awesome to have a mom best friend, but then also our husbands work together and they're becoming buddies.
And our husbands
then we would
are friends. It's so nice. They're upstairs right now just playing with the kids. And they're going to go start working out together. But yeah, it's awesome. It's like I've always wanted like friends that were like family. And like when Phoebe grows up, like I hope Phoebe will say like, yeah, I'm going to go over to Aunt Kaylin's house. Like I hope that we're friends for that long.
Oh my gosh.
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like those friends, like you're like, hey, we're coming over for Cinco de Mayo or whatever. Let's have a barbecue. And it like our friends, our kids are just like cousins basically.
It's fun. And I love that, like, I don't know. I think especially having toddlers, you just kind of like accept the chaos. And again, that's where it's like awesome to have people in the same season as you. Because it's like, let's go to the store. Let's go thrifting. Let's like, our kids are going to be nuts and like, that's okay. Like,
like your kid's screaming? Wait 5 minutes and mine's going to be crying on the floor.
Or like at each other's houses. Like, let's have like adult conversation while our kids like tear apart our house. But it's, it's really great to have that kind of like community and friendship with people, and specifically you in this situation.
Yeah. All right. I have no idea how long this is. 47 minutes. Okay.
You just like talk about topics and then like pick and choose what goes in.
No, he like puts everything in. I think we could do an outro because it's been long.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm so glad that I got to have you on the podcast and we got to have like girl time and talk. I learned a lot about you.
Yeah. No, I feel like
because I'm like, yeah, Kaylin's my best friend. And then Carlos was like, what are you guys going to talk about? Or he asked me, he said, what do you know about Kaylin? And I was like,
what do I know?
I know that she's my best friend.
Yeah.
I know that she also has kids and we like the same stuff.
Yeah.
And we are the same person. But I had no idea like what
past and stuff.
Yeah. Like I never really asked. I never pried. I didn't want to pry.
I'm like an open book. I feel like I've always kind of been that way. That's kind of like, yeah, ask me a question and I'll answer it. Is there any like, we were just talking about doing outro, but like any Mother's Day thoughts? Because this is going to come out on Mother's Day.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Yes, this is our Mother's Day special with two moms.
What, I feel like I need to ask you some questions, but what's something you feel like the Lord has like taught you about motherhood or just like through motherhood?
Oh my gosh.
Everything.
Patience.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's my number one. I have a prayer journal that I just started like last month.
I love that.
Every single day, twice a day, I'm praying that the Lord would give me patience.
Girl.
And I've learned, you know what I've learned? I've learned that when you ask the Lord to give you patience, he's going to give you
opportunities.
He's going to give you opportunities to learn patience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, kind of wish I didn't ask for that.
I know. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I know I'm going to be better for it.
Yep.
But it's like, that's my number one struggle is because it's like, I'm touched out all day.
Yeah.
And then Phoebe's like asking 17 times in a row for milk. I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm like, stop talking for a second.
Motherhood is very sanctifying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've just like learned not only about like that being like a good mom is important, but also like as a mom, your kids are watching everything you do.
Oh my gosh.
And Phoebe has really picked up my bad habits, especially in the last few weeks. And I'm just like, it's so eye-opening. Like, she reveals all of my sin to me. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, she's impatient. She's yelling. She's saying things that I say. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, God. I have a little mirror right here. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better.
Yeah. I have to apologize to Lincoln like all the time. Like, which is like great because it's an opportunity to like teach him about, the gospel and like why we need salvation. And like, hey, you know how like we talk about disobedience and how like we're sinful sometimes? It's like, Mommy and Daddy sin too.
Yeah.
A lot. And so like just those opportunities to teach him like not only that, but then like will you forgive me? And like the actions of like repentance and what it looks like to forgive someone and like have reconciliation and it's really sweet. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. All you moms out there.
Shout out.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard out here. It's rough on these streets.
You're doing the Lord's work.
You are. It's normal to feel like you're going crazy. It's normal to have a hard day and to get impatient with your kids. But we just got to try to do better.
Yeah. Let the Lord guide you and hold you through your day. And also, if you don't have one, find a community that you can be poured into. And like, again, it's so easy to not, because you get into a routine and you get into just like your rhythms, and it's like, yep, I'm a mom. This is what I do every day. But like, take opportunities to get out of the house, find groups. Like I said, like, I'm really passionate just about like community. And so like we've done like ladies gatherings where it's like, you know what? Like, I just want to hang out with like women in the same stage, women that are older than me, women that are younger than me. Like, we've done a handful of like girls get-togethers where it's like we tried to do like candle making one time, and that didn't end up working out. But
it was cool.
Like, putting together like
painting pumpkins.
Yeah, yes, just like fun activities together. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just be like, hey, come over to my house and let's do something. We started book club, which has been so fun.
We're gonna start a dinner club also.
Yes. Yeah. It's important to make space for those kinds of things.
Yes. And if you don't have somebody who is like Kaylin over here and is like, hey, let's do this.
Be that person.
Be that person.
Yeah.
Be that person that reaches out to somebody else, because chances are somebody else really, really needs somebody like that. So that's all we got for today. We love you, moms.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye.
Bye.
Just hit the mic. I don't know how to stop this. This is why we need husbands.